Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Asking the Girls. In this show, we will be talking about all things women in music, fashion, and of course, the fabulous women in history that have paved the way for us today. We are super excited to have you here with us, and we can't wait to show you the amazing lineup for today's show. I'm your host, Sasha Stack, and today we will be joined by June and Rosie, who will be discussing women's fashion throughout history. So, June and Rosie, tell us about the wonderful pieces you have here today.
Hi guys, so we're going to start off with this piece right here. This fishtail skirt kind of holds a tight silhouette extending out the bottom. Kind of resembles sort of like a mermaid or a fish, probably where the name comes from. It originated in the Victorian era between the 1870s and the 1880s. Usually it becomes a dress hugging the woman's figure and extenuating their kind of their curves. It rose to popularity in the 20s thanks to Madeleine Vinat, who modelled the fishtail in her wedding dress for the 1931 Vogue magazine. And then on top we have this knit jumper. In the 17th century, hand knitting became really popular in Ireland with the iron jumpers and that kind of thing. Primarily, women made them for their husbands. Closer to the 20th century then, kind of became a preppy thing for young men to wear, kind of in their free time. And then entering into the 21st century where second-hand clothing became quite big, and the rise of shopping in second-hand shops and the knitted pattern jumper became really popular amongst all genders, kind of bringing in that grandad jumper style that we hear about. It's a really important staple piece, especially for the winter. June, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's got a very wintry vibe to it. Like, there's that pattern on kind of the midriff that looks a bit like a snowflake, and then the kind of dark blues and stuff. It's very wintry, it's very frosty.
Yeah.
It's giving like Frozen vibes a little bit,
Kind
actually.
of, yeah. Maybe a darker Frozen.
An Arndale chic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the Vogue in Arndale.
Yes, totally. But it's like, I find it so interesting how, like, even looking at this, right, for example, you can really see like the cyclical nature of fashion and the continuity that continues throughout. Like, for example, the fishtail skirt, not imagine fishnet skirt, fishtail skirt. 2000s, it was all the rage, where all the prom dresses and all the wedding dresses, they all had that fishtail silhouette. And it'll probably come back around again in our lifetime, you know, but that originated way back when in the 30s, you get what I mean? And like the grandad jumper, for example, like you could totally see that in like Jaded London or like Brandy Melville now, you get what I mean? For like €90, yeah. Whereas women were making them in the 17th century for their husbands because there wasn't much else happening at the time. You know, so it really just goes to show how it all comes back. So tell us about this second piece.
Okay, so on the top half, we have this puff sleeve top. It was a great symbol of femininity, elegance and power throughout history. It has been worn by women from all different classes. You still probably see it at like music festivals today. It originated and became a massive trend in the 16th century, which gives it this kind of fantastical, whimsical look. But during that time, a hoop skirt would have been worn underdresses would create a wide silhouette, and the puff sleeves were used to balance the fullness of the skirt.
Yeah, it's totally, I mean, you wouldn't even know if you added a hoop skirt, it would almost be the same as back then.
Literally.
But now it's literally like coquette, prairie chic with dark academia skirt.
Yeah.
So it all just goes to show.
Completely. Like I could see that at a Fleetwood Mac concert or something like that.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the midi skirt, which might seem a bit old-fashioned now, but it first appeared at the end of World War II and signified a bolder and dramatic change in women's fashion. It cut off at the ankles, which wasn't just more provocative and empowering, but also more practical and utilitarian, signifying women's sudden involvement in the industrial industry and the modern workplace.
Yeah.
It's interesting to put in context with my skirt now beside me, the difference, you know, and that was wild back then, and look at me now, you know, it's crazy.
Know. But it's even crazy because you ever seen the dresses from the 60s? They're like totally short.
I know, but then they kind of went backwards as well again. It's crazy, but you have to look at the countries, you know, Ireland, there'd been none of that. It's very different.
Anyways, thank you so much, and we'll rejoin you after the break for a musical performance. Welcome back to Asking the Girls. Now we are going to welcome CD for a beautiful performance of her original song, As I Am.
Take me out to the lake, but it's not clean like it used to be. Went for a swim far too soon after tea. I went too deep. Take me as I am. Make me into something better. If you take my hand, I'll exchange you a letter. Gentle waters far too kind for me. Just a body. Hook me under, set my soul so free from blasphemy. This sea monster eats me up inside. The worst part is it knows exactly what I like. What I like. Take me as I am. Make me into something better. If you take my hand, I'll exchange you a letter. I'll exchange you a letter.
Thank you so much for CD for her fantastic performance.
Thank you.
She's now joined me for a few questions. Hi CD, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So tell me about your music. Tell me about what inspired you to write that particular song.
That song To me, it always reminds me of the sea. I've always loved the sea and how the waves kind of roll. I remember I wrote it about 4 years ago and I shared it with a friend and she told me the kind of finger picking part reminded her of waves rolling, which I really liked.
Oh, I love that, kind of like an onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
That's stunning. And what was your biggest source of musical inspiration maybe when you were younger that would inspire you to start creating music?
When I was younger, definitely one of my favourite artists was Lisa Hannigan, an Irish female folk artist. She released this absolutely incredible album called Passenger, and I listened to that a lot as a kid, and it like really inspired me. I think I maybe lifted a couple chords from her songs to use in my own.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
I must listen. I've never actually heard that album.
Oh, it's so good.
But so tell me, are you in a band or are you a solo artist exclusively? Or?
Yeah. So I write all my own songs, so they all start off with just me and a guitar, which is why I'm able to play them with or without a band. But I owe a lot to my band. I do have one together. We are called Cadmium, like the element, which the abbreviation is CD for. And
Oh, I thought you meant like a disc. I was but that's way cooler.
yeah. And yeah, we have some interesting instruments. We have a saxophone, which is kind of
Oh, I love that.
unique.
You need a saxophone for, the sex appeal.
I'll tell Saoirse that.
Do. But so tell me, what do you have big plans for like an album, or are you gonna stick to the same genre, or like tell me what's the future for a CD?
Well, funny you ask about an album because we actually just released our debut album this
Oh,
summer.
wow.
Yeah, the genre is kind of a mix of everything, honestly. Like you could call it indie rock, indie folk, with some jazzy stuff as well.
Yeah.
And some more acoustic stuff like what I just played. But yeah, it's a real mix of everything. It's called Meet Me at the Observatory on the Top of the Hill.
Oh wow.
If you
Lana Del
can
Rey
remember.
song title.
Yeah. But yeah, the saxophone is a big part of it.
I'm glad to hear it. And so tell me, do you find that as a woman, do you think you have a different experience as an artist in the industry, or do you think it would be different if you were male?
I'm not sure because like in Dublin now, I'm so glad to be part of this kind of up and coming music scene. But I think there's lots of opportunities for women. I honestly don't. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you so much for your time. We hope you are enjoying the first episode of Asking the Girls. I want to welcome Courtney, our history expert, to the show. Hi Courtney, how are things?
Good, how are you, Sasha?
I'm really good. So today you're about to tell us about a really figure that looms really quite large in Irish culture, that is being Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah. So today I'm just going to talk about Sinead O'Connor. And in her early life, her parents were divorced when she was 8. And in her later years, she ran away to Dublin to pursue a career in music. She boycotted the 1991 Grammys. She refused to have the US national anthem played before one of her performances, and so on. She's also been a victim to a lot of public criticism because of her support for the IRA, calling them freedom fighters, which she later apologised for. She was widely known for ripping apart a photo of Pope John Paul on SNL in 1992 and very loudly protesting against the Catholic Church and their cover-ups of sexual assaults and crimes committed within Ireland. She was a victim of the Church's abuse and was trying to personally call out the Pope in particular for his complicity in the issue. And she struggled a lot with mental health after these controversies, but became one of the strongest female musicians of the 90s. Her biggest hit was Nothing Compares to You, a song about her heartbreak and her loss of hope after dealing with a breakup, which was originally written by Prince. She's a key figure in women's history simply because of how she was able to stand up for herself. So we're just going to talk about her a bit more now.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I find Sinead is just such a fascinating figure. And one thing I find really interesting about her is that how she would be, I think, perceived differently today if what she did was not 30 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think, for example, when she famously ripped up the picture of the Pope, Bob Geldof actually did that first, but he was never demonised for it half as much as Sinead was. And I think part of that might boil down to Sinead being a woman. You know, he was still remembered as the hero of Live Aid or whatever.
Yeah.
But do you think Sinead would have been received differently had she been around today?
Yeah, I think her impact was a lot more significant back then because there was a lot of hush culture of, oh, we don't talk about
Yeah.
these issues.
It's a real silence under the rug
Yeah.
kind of situation.
So I feel like her standing up back then was she had a very big impact.
She was singular, I think.
Yeah.
Like there was really no one else you could think of that was quite like her.
Yeah.
Like for example, you know, even her famous look with the shaved head. And
Yes.
that was in solidarity with her sister, who her mother would say was less beautiful than Sinead. So Sinead
Yeah.
said, I don't want to conform to your beauty standards. I'm not even going to have hair. And it just became so iconic, and I think it's one of the most unique things about her.
Yeah.
But when did you personally first discover Sinead's music, and what impact did that have upon you?
I first found out about her when the moment of her going on SNL became viral again
Yeah.
back a few years. And then I got into her music from there. So yeah, that's kind of how I learned, probably how a lot of people learned about her, yeah.
Yeah, because these moments, like, they might have been so big around our parents' generation,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't know until they come around later with a whole new set of eyes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, really fascinating. And do you have a favourite Sinead song or lyric?
My favourite song from Sinead is probably Nothing Compares to You.
It is unreal.
Yeah, purely because the meaning behind it of like loss and tragedy,
Yeah,
and also its impact,
Yeah,
because
totally.
that's really where she left her imprint on the music industry.
yeah, she'd such a unique, like, voice and presence. Like, even when I listen to that song, I feel like I'm going through the worst breakup
Yeah.
of my life. Like,
Yeah.
you really feel it.
Yeah,
You get what I
do.
mean? Do you think that there are any young new artists today that might have, obviously not the same impact as Sinead because she was so singular and so off her time, but that might have had kind of clearly Sinead influenced, or
Yeah.
might be the Sineads of our time?
One that comes to my head is CMAT, because she doesn't comply with the beauty standards the same way that Sinead didn't. For example, she never fixed her teeth because that's something she got bullied for.
Yeah. So really embracing, you know, what makes someone unique.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fascinating. Thank you so much for that.
thank you.
Yeah, I find Sinead is just a big loss.
Yeah,
You know, and I think it hit a lot of people quite hard when she
Yeah.
passed away a few years ago. So thank you so much for your time, Courtney.
thank you, Sasha.
And for telling us about a fabulous woman in Irish history. And we will be joining you after the break for the Woman of the Week segment, which will be chosen by me. So stay tuned. Thank you, guys. Welcome back to Asking the Girls, and I'm going to be delivering your last but not least segment. This is your Woman of the Week. I chose this woman because I find I read her story and I found it really captivated me. And the Woman of the Week that I have chosen is Elena Ferrante. What makes Elena Ferrante so unique is that she's actually not Elena Ferrante at all. That's a pseudonym. She's an Italian novelist. Nobody knows her true identity. She writes these really good books. She's known for the Neapolitan novels or the My Brilliant Friend books. And they really capture kind of like girlhood and womanhood and women's inner desires and thoughts in a really precise way and a really kind of singular way. And her writing was so good, in fact, that people thought that a woman couldn't be writing these novels. People actually were speculating that Elena Ferrante was a man. And she never ever gives interviews, has never given an interview. But the only time that she ever gave an interview was to set the record straight and say that she was not a man. And it's kind of ridiculous because obviously I've read her books, that's why I find her so interesting, but they're all about, you know, women's inner thoughts, and they capture it in such a way where you're like, God, I can't believe someone could put that feeling into words. You know, it's about friendship and growing up. Her obviously taken from her life, growing up in Naples in the 50s and stuff. You should all read it anyways, fascinating. But she introduces a really interesting idea in her interview that she gave about a literary gynoecium, where basically, in a lot of people's minds, especially men's minds, but also women's, is that women's writing is confined to this sort of space of female ideas and female thoughts that can't be expanded upon it. So only love or only romance or only whatever. So that's why people thought that she could only possibly be a man, you know? But she kind of said that, what did she say? She said, ending the furlough of the literary gynoecium. So proving that women writers can be more than romance, can be more than motherhood, can be more than what the world perceives them to be. And I also find her anonymity to be particularly striking because, you know, in a world where people want such access to women, they want, you know, to know what their private lives are like, or always, you know, taking apart how they look or how they act or if they were rude or whatever. to not give people that aspect of your identity or your inner world is actually really powerful in a world where, you know, people just want women to be there for them all the time, you know, on social media or whatever. So that's why I chose Elena Ferrante as my Woman of the Week. So that concludes the first episode of Asking the Girls. Once again, a special thanks to all our fabulous guests coming on today. So we had beautiful fashion, we had real historical takes, and I've been really fascinated by all the things that they've been saying to me. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you took something from this to really give you a new perspective on perhaps something you didn't know before about women in history, and taking that into your new life today. Because we are the women of history in 30 years, you know what I mean? And, you know, well-behaved women don't make history. We hope you enjoyed, and we can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much.